Hello everyone, and
welcome to the way back.
Today, I've been put in charge of leading an operation into this lawless system, filled with criminals, bugs, and rogue armies with a singular goal: to cleanse it. That's right boys, today we're checking out Menace, a newish turn-based tactical shooter that focuses on suppressing your enemies and then flanking what's left of them. A game where complacency is punished, and one small mistake can lead to the death of an entire squad. So join me on my quest to clean up the galaxy, while I do my very best not to screw it up. For those that haven't played Menace, the basic rundown is we're in charge of the TCR Intipus, a ship filled with cracked marines given the task of restoring order to the way back. Now you may be wondering, why do I have the luxury of being in charge? Well, that would be because around 85% of the crew, including the entire high command, were killed in an unfortunate accident. Yeah, I'll admit, not a great start to the operation, made worse by our mission success chance now being redacted. Aww. During my promotional ceremony, we were rudely interrupted by this guy, Field Marshal Zarma, who welcomed us to the way back, offered us his condolences about the whole leadership dying thing, and was definitely not being a sarcastic asshole the entire time.
I was expecting a General Crozier.
He's in charge of the planetary Jingwei, an incredibly corrupt regime who are losing their grip over the way back. But they're not important right now, as my goal is to make friends with the smaller factions. Before we go any further though, we had to pick our starting squad leaders. So I picked these four, and I think we can all agree, it's time to kill something. So I picked our first operation to kill some bugs, picked a mission to rescue some settlers, did a little prep, and deployed. Once we had landed, our objective was to kill a majority of the attacking force. So after familiarizing myself with the UI, I sent the boys forward, shot some bugs with our guns, shot some more bugs with our even bigger guns, and things were going well until I ran into a much larger one. Known as a blaster bug, it's basically a walking, screeching anti-tank gun with dense armor, which makes it a slight problem for our infantry, as they only have these terrible semi-automatic carbines. So I did my best to ignore it and kill all its friends, and for reasons I'm not entirely sure why, it then just kind of walked towards us. So I shot it in the face. Twice. With the big bastard dead and my ammunition running low, I spent the rest of the mission driving over anything that was still alive. And with that, we had completed our first mission. With our first mission completed, we were awarded with some bug parts which we can trade at the black market. Each item you put up gives you a small amount of BP, which we can use to buy better equipment. Things like new guns, vehicles, and even a 120mm mortar if we really wanted. Obviously, everything is extremely expensive, but I did have enough to buy myself some shotguns. I also had enough for today's sponsor. Have you ever wanted to learn a useful skill but like me struggle to actually do it? Well, today I'm here to present to you today's sponsor, Boot.dev. A fun and engaging way to learn back-end web development from start to finish in Python, SQL, and Go. What makes it far more engaging and how I managed to level my own account up to Apprentice is because it turns learning into a fun RPG system that rewards you as you go. Earn XP, level up, complete quests, and fight bosses, all while learning to write code. Throughout the process, you'll be learning by building real projects, and if you ever get stuck, you have access to a personal AI tutor called Boots, who has helped guide me through more tasks than I'd like to admit. Programmers have an amazing earning potential, as according to Stack Overflow, back-end web developers in the US for 2024 had a median salary of over $100,000. So if you want to learn a high-paying skill in a smart and engaging way, click the link down in the description and use my code Rarr to get 25% off either your first month or first year. And if you try it and find it's not for you, they offer a 30-day, no questions asked refund policy. Thanks again to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video. Now back to it. I gave the shotguns to Lim since he was going to be our frontliner, as his perks work around being shot at and killing things. And these proved incredibly effective. Anything that got within a 4-tile radius got absolutely annihilated. With another mission completed, I had built up enough PP to hand out a couple of promotions. I started with promoting our boy Bog, an alcoholic, probably should be retired Marine with no legs who's currently driving our APC. I gave him the perk Recycled Parts, which lowers his supply cost by 30%, but also lowers his health. Anyway, with all the boring promotions out of the way, let's get back to killing things. For the final mission, it was time to actually use some tactics. So, we're going to use a tactic I call the shotgun taxi, which works like this. We put Lim inside the APC, drive as close as possible to whatever we want to kill, and then have him unload on them. And this tactic worked remarkably well, as there was nothing the bugs could do about it. So we smashed through the final mission and completed the operation. With our first operation completed, we were rewarded with a choice between two items, either some boring armor-piercing bullets, or some slightly more exciting high-capacity SMGs. Naturally, my brain elevated towards maximum DACA, so I picked the SMGs. Furthermore, we were rewarded with some OCI components. These are used to install upgrades into your ship, which as you can see is completely wrecked thanks to our little accident. Personally, the first thing I recommend building is the WOO, or the Wayback Outreach Office, as this will give you 2 new precious squaddies after each mission. With that said, it was time for another operation, but before we did that, I went back to the black market to purchase some new equipment, some battle rifles so we had some more armor piercing, and an ammo crate for our APC which will give us some more bang. This operation went exactly how you think it did. We ran around the forest spraying bullets in every direction with our new SMGs, which were very effective at deleting anything within a 4-tile radius. Once we had finished up the final mission, we were given a choice between a recoilless anti-tank grenade launcher or a tripoded mounted automatic grenade launcher, both of which sound fucking amazing. And I'll be honest, this was a tough decision, but after some careful consideration, I ended up taking the recoilless anti-tank grenade launcher. Moving on, before we started our next operation, I wanted to make some changes to our lineup. So heading to the black market, I purchased a file for a potential recruit, who ended up being one of my favourite characters in the game, Cody Greyfinger. To make space for him, I turned Pike into a dedicated anti-tank team by lowering his squad size to 3. This freed up enough points to give Cody a squad of 5. Now with our team assembled, it was time for our third operation. Going into the first mission, I won't lie, I was incredibly overconfident, so I wasn't too worried when I ran into a blaster. Deploying the AT gun, Pike managed to score a pretty tasty hit, putting it on around 1/3 health. With that said, this then happened. Fuck! Yeah, that's not good. With the APC ruined, not only was Bog injured, but I was going to have to spend my hard-earned BP to replace it. With Bog out of action for the next couple of missions, this freed up a large portion of our supply. So it was time for another squad leader. And who did we end up rolling? Only the greatest of squad leaders, Jean Sai. She's an extremely wealthy individual turned pirate with daddy issues. Being a 1-star squad leader, she kinda sucks in the stat department, but she makes up for it by not only being incredibly cheap to deploy, but by having one of the best perks in the game, Trinketing, which gives you a 30% chance of gaining an additional item if she kills something. The only problem being the killing part. So to make this work, she was going to have to become a professional kill stealer, something I think worked, as after completing the next mission, we were rewarded with all these bug parts. With Jean picking up 5 kills, I can only assume that a couple of these were from her perk, because the game doesn't actually tell you, and I kinda wish it did. Anyway, our final mission was to kill a Hive Queen, and yeah, it wasn't hard at all. With our third operation wrapped up, I had managed to build up enough trust with the backbone to unlock our first ship upgrades. I'll admit, I think I got incredibly lucky here as I managed to roll the Consulate, an upgrade that increases your trust gain by 20%. Plus we rolled the auto supply, which gives us an additional 5% supply. Don't get me wrong, we still had to build these upgrades, but what an incredible start, right? With the ship sorted, it was time to hit the black market for some new gear. With a total of 1025 BP, I bought a new APC and an autocannon to go with it because it was finally time to fight some pirates. Our first mission was to simply capture this outpost. Looking at the map with our 0 intelligence, it seemed like our best plan of attack was to bang it up the left. And to be honest, this was working quite well until we drove into the outpost and all hell broke loose. I wouldn't go as far as saying we were ambushed, but all of a sudden there were a handful of pirates. One being a pickup truck with a massive laser on the back of it. Immediately I began peppering it with the autocannon, which did fuck all. It was only when I hit it with 4 separate attacks that it finally decided it was going home. Or so I thought. Oh, what? Yep, those pirate bastards came back and almost cost me another APC. So I dealt with him properly this time. With the truck destroyed, the rest of the mission went swimmingly. One by one, we suppressed their squads and then finished the job with the shotguns. For our hard work, we were rewarded with a big old machine gun and a handful of makeshift equipment, which was going to come in handy in our next mission. All we had to do was defend this outpost for 10 rounds, something I didn't think was going to be too difficult considering we had a few extra squads to help us. But when the mission started, we were immediately hit with rockets, swamped with motorized infantry, and suppressed by machine guns. Initially, we were able to keep them at bay, but all of a sudden it seemed my AT crews had developed sudden blindness. You missed! With the elite pirates flooding into the outpost, I managed to just about keep things under control thanks to the heavy machine gun and breaking the Geneva Convention. And then have some of this. A receipt that was paid in full when the pirates brought their own incendiary weapons. Anyway, like a little bitch, as soon as we hit round 10, I immediately ended the mission and collected our reward. One item in particular interest was a motion scanner, which will allow us to reveal enemies inside the fog of war. Not that it was the most useful item, because in the next operation, we spawned right next to both a flamethrower and a heavy machine gun truck. Thankfully, the flame wagons are made of both paper and piss, but the HMG trucks, yeah, they're pretty tanky, and it was only when I threw the entire kitchen sink at it did we actually kill it. To be honest, there wasn't a lot else to say about this mission, aside from getting to watch one of my poor squaddies get absolutely wrecked by an RPG to the back of the head. And I'm only pointing this out because he was the only one to be rescued. What a fucking animal. Anyway, fast forward to the final mission. It was once again another defense, and this one went surprisingly worse than the last one. Once again, the pirates were trying to overwhelm us with sheer Dakar and motorized infantry, and a majority of their forces were pushing in from the south. However, this time, they were bringing a handful of flamer trucks. With Tech defending the south, he got pinned down by the spam of chain gunners. This poor man pretty much spent the entire battle getting hosed with bullets from all angles. Sadly, I couldn't exactly help him as we had pirates pouring in from both the north and the east, and Cody, being the beautiful bastard he is, was single-handedly keeping them at bay, while Lim fended them off from the west. Once the west had been cleared, I believed I was able to flank them. But remember when I said the pirates had brought flamethrowers? Yeah, I ran straight into one of them. With a majority of Lim's squad dead, it was only when the truck advanced we were able to knock it out with our anti-tank gun. And the poor man was able to crawl over the corpses of his former squad to safety. And I think it should be to no one's surprise, the moment that this mission hit round 10, I ended it. Had a quick peek at our casualties, which didn't look so good, and then had a look at the items we salvaged. I'll admit, I think the only thing that could be of value here was the thermite. The rest of this shit was not worth all the squaddies that had just died. With our 5th operation wrapped up, we were introduced to the rogue army. Remember Field Marshal Zama and how he was in charge of the planetary Jingwei? Well, let's say some people were unhappy with his leadership, and Mr. Zama ever so kindly asked us to help squash these rogue elements. In return, we could keep any equipment that we salvaged. Not wanting to miss out on this opportunity, I bought up some new recruits in exchange for a majority of our crappy pirate weapons we had just salvaged. Furthermore, we'd be fighting a proper army now, so I took the liberty of installing some sensors into our ship, alongside some air support. Our first mission against them was to lay an ambush. Since we had a little bit of intelligence now, we could make out a few of the units we'd be fighting and plan things accordingly. With it raining heavily, I hid in this nice, well-defended outpost and made short work of their walkers with my autocannon and Cody. With all the mechs destroyed, the rest of the mission was fairly quiet, as we ended up only fighting 1 or 2 infantry squads. I have to admit, the rest of this operation was fairly easy. We defended an outpost where they didn't even get close, and assaulted one of theirs. The final mission was to assault the defensive line, and I thought this was going to be reasonably tough, until I checked our intelligence to find that we were fighting about 5 squads. So yeah, we easily smashed through them. Honestly, I was a little let down by their performance. At the end of the operation though, not only did we salvage a handful of semi-decent equipment, but we were also rewarded with a Griffin Dynamics rotary barreled machine gun, which does this. I was having one small problem though, and that was I was running out of squaddies. Every mission I was running as many squaddies as possible with fairly decent weapons but no armor, which as you can imagine is great until you get hit by something. This was made worse by the fact that I still only had a damaged med bay. So the first change I made was upgrading our damaged medical bay to an advanced one. Furthermore, I built another WOO, allowing us to recruit 4 squaddies per mission. With the ship upgrades out the way, it was time to make some changes to our lineup. To start with, I lowered our squad sizes, gave them some actual armor, and some defensive equipment like smoke grenades. Finally, I took away Bog's APC and replaced it with a pickup truck. Why? So we could have 2 of them. Honestly, the combination of autocannon and minigun made short work of these poor pirates. It was just too easy keeping their faces in the dirt and then calling in air support to finish the job. One small problem with the pickup trucks though, they were incredibly weak. With our new pilot out of action, I went back to the black market to hire another one, and we ended up with Rarr. Her whole thing is killing people. So naturally, I gave her the pickup truck with an autocannon, which was working just fine, until we ran into a heavy tank. Well, this is a little bit unfair. Yeah, my little pickup truck had absolutely no chance against a heavy tank. Thankfully, its lack of vision with it being night made it easy for me to slip away. But I still had the problem of killing it. My AT gun did fuck all against it as it continued rolling forwards. To stop it from completely ruining my day, I threw some smoke grenades in its face, and then came up with a fantastic idea. A little while ago, I had hired a man who goes by the name Yaz, a crazy Russian who I had given thermite to. Moving our boy into the smoke, I then threw the thermite at the tank, and this surprisingly worked. Thermite. You missed! Okay, it worked the second time. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's good. That's really good. With it heavily damaged and on fire, it turned around, drove off, turned back towards us, and then disappeared into the smoke, never to be seen again. This became my default tactic on dealing with armor throughout the rest of the campaign, because it was so goddamn effective. However, they were not as powerful as enemy mortars. Our final mission of the operation was to eliminate an enemy officer. Easy enough, I thought to myself as I pushed forward, killed their infantry, destroyed their walkers, but then I heard it.
God damn, they got solid grouping.
I swear to God, these guys never miss. Combine that with their sniper teams, we were having a horrible, horrible time dying in the snow. Eventually, I managed to push through, eliminate the officer, and crawl towards the extract. But even when I was trying to leave the mission, those sniping bastards were still shooting me. Fuck off! I'm trying to leave! After that incredibly painful mission, I wanted to do some good old relaxing bug killing, as they were by far the easiest threat to fight. Plus, this was a good opportunity to do some work for the corporation, who I had basically neglected this entire playthrough. For a bit of fun, I replaced our APC and pickup combo with 2 ATVs, and drove around absolutely annihilating any hostile wildlife while our infantry just kinda sat at the back getting hit by acid. With all the bug parts I salvaged, I paid a visit to our friend at the black market and exchanged them for a plasma gun. It felt fitting to give it to the crazy Russian guy with thermite, and it was alright. Not sure if it was 1000 BP alright, but it was definitely fun to use. After a victory against the bugs, I annihilated some rogue army fools, and at the end of this operation, I was presented with an interesting reward. A medium walker. Now, I had been tipped off that these were pretty good, because if you sync up the weapons, it fired both in a single attack. Our first mission with the walker was beautiful. These rogue bastards tried so hard to assault our position, but they couldn't even get close. One by one, their walkers were crushed, their infantry slaughtered, and when the battle was over, all that remained of the attacking force was a handful of burning vehicles surrounded by corpses. This was a reoccurring theme for the rest of the operation. I would spot an enemy unit, and before they could even get a turn in, they were annihilated. And the only casualties we suffered during this operation were from fucking mortars. At this point, I was around 12 to 13 operations deep, and I had hit a massive power spike. But I wanted to be stronger, so it was time to embrace the cult of Jean. As previously stated, she is arguably one of the best squad leaders in the game because she can give you extra items. My plan then was to give her the best equipment possible and have her mop up a majority of the kills while the rest of my team played support. With her stacking up nearly all the kills, we were rewarded handsomely with stuff we could sell on the black market. But you're probably wondering why I was doing this. Well, to prepare myself for the final foe. Upon completing the operation, our secretary informed us about strange distress signals we had been picking up coming from a long abandoned colony. And apparently it's now my job to check it out. Arriving, we were surrounded by corpses and burnt out vehicles. As we moved towards the administration building, we finally met them.
Major, hostiles inbound!
These cybernetic monstrosities had laid an ambush and we were to be the next victims. Unfortunately for them, I had a bog and air support. Things did get a little scary though when they managed to close in from the south and absolutely annihilate one of my squad leaders. So note to self, don't let them get close. After we survived, we were informed that these things go by the name Menace, or
mechanically enhanced, neurologically augmented combat enemy.
While we were being briefed, we were contacted by our old friend. Immediately, he began throwing out subtle accusations that maybe we were behind the creation of the Menace, as it was ever so convenient that upon our arrival, they had popped up too. He even went as far to call us a convenience store.
You are a convenience store, Marine.
Right, okay. Anyway, after the Marshal's little speech, we could see that Mock was currently infested by the Menace. Before we started the operation though, it was time to hit the black market one last time. Our previous encounter had taught us that the best way to fight these fellas was at range, so I purchased myself a set of binoculars and a couple of advanced weapons. Our first mission was to investigate an attack. Immediately, our mission began with the Menace throwing themselves at us, with a mixture of monstrosities and both mechanical and not so mechanical bombers. As we pushed forwards, our front line kept them overloaded while our back line did a majority of the damage. And because I'm greedy, I made sure Jean picked up a majority of the kills with her sniper rifle. Pushing into the settlement, Yaz did an amazing job of getting shot and returning fire. Clearing up the rest of the Menace, I rescued some workers, recovered a data container that conveniently spawned at the extract, and then left. The following mission was more of the same. Spawn on the map, kill a majority of them at the start, and then pick off the rest of them while completing the operations. This mission though would reduce the Menace's presence by 1, and then our final mission was to defend against a terror attack. I won't lie, I didn't exactly save too many of the citizens because by the time I even made contact, 60% of them were dead. After wrapping up the operation, the Menace presence was, gone? I did do another mission where we fended off the Menace's attempt to land on dice, but after that, they just kinda fizzled away. I'm not even joking. I did a couple of operations against the pirates to see if they would pop back up, but they just didn't. I also have to admit, I think I had hit a bit of a power spike, as all the AI did was bunch their units up in the corner of the map and begged for mercy while I dropped airstrikes on them. To be honest, this had been happening in the last few operations, but I thought the Menace were going to be a little stronger, but they were just kind of disappointing. I had done this playthrough on challenging, so maybe I should have whacked the game on expert, but ah well. Even though we had ended on a slightly anticlimactic finish, I still had a lot of fun playing this game, and I look forward to seeing what the devs cook up in the future. I will mention I was sent a key for free, but joke's on them because I was going to buy the game anyway. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please give this video a like. Thank you to the people who throw money at me. And finally, thanks to boot.dev for sponsoring this video. And as always, new videos every...